Oh, my eyes are up here, guys. Anyway, we got our computer here, and I just want you guys to take a fucking look at this. This is absolutely insane. That's our computer right there. For a size reference, this is an iPhone XR. That's insane.
Oh, Nelly!
Before you handle any computer, any motherboard, any chipset, you want to make sure that you do not have any static electricity on yourself. So generally, some people wear these like little bands that you can wear, or they use a rubber tech mat and rubber gloves. Pretty much that's all unnecessary. As long as you touch a piece of grounded metal before you touch the board, you should be fine. That way, if you do have any static discharge, it's going to shock you on the piece of grounded metal and not on your precious computer, which in this case costs $35. But if you're working with like a fucking $600 GPU or something, it's kind of a bigger deal. But grounded metal, huh? Give me a moment. Good to go. Alright, so let's open this up and take a little peek at what we got in here. This is the computer itself, or it's the actual motherboard. I feel like you're really close to my face. Let's back you up just a skosh. Feeling a little bit threatened. Alright, so you got some instructions here. You have a little card with a barcode and nothing else on it. And you have your RetroPie 3B+. You have your Ethernet port, 4 USB 2.0 ports. You have your pins that you can use for different accessories such as fans and LED lights. You've got your HDMI out. You have a 3.5mm headphone jack. You have that little square right there is your CPU. So that's your actual brain of your computer, I guess you could say. That is the plug for your power source. It's micro USB. So it doesn't come with a case or a power source. However, I ordered that separately. It is also here, so I'm gonna have links to all this stuff in the description. So the motherboard itself is about $35, free shipping, and then this accessory kit here I want to say is another $15 or $20, but I shopped around and this happens to be the best value because not only does it come with a case, a fan, aftermarket heat sinks, but it also comes with a power source too. So you're basically killing like 3 birds with 1 stone. You're basically just slaying all the birds. There's no more birds left at this point. So this is the fan. It looks very small, and that's because it is, but you don't really need a huge helicopter blade of a fan to cool a PC that is the size of a playing card. There's your heat sinks, 2 large and 2 small and 1 smaller heat sink basically, and these are some really good heat sinks. The stock ones that usually these builds come with are kind of ass, but we're going to be overclocking this, so it's going to be really stressing. That's why we need the heat sinks and fan to keep it cool. Alright, here's that power source I was talking about. It's nothing special. Well, I mean, it's kind of special. It's got this little on and off because this computer itself does not have an on and off switch. There's no like power button you would hit like on a regular computer, so this is going to stay plugged in at all times, and then we'll be able to turn our PC on and off with this little toggle doohickey here. Alright, this is the actual case itself. It is one of the best looking cases. Cosmetically, that's one of the reasons I picked it, is it's going to make our build look absolutely fucking awesome. Plus, it was a great value because it's coming with the heat sinks and fan and power source for under 20 bucks. So since we are keeping this build under 100 bucks, it's a real win. So there is the case right there. There's a couple things in it, which hopefully we can get out. I think I might actually need to take the top off to get the accessories out, but they're basically just little rubber pads that go on the bottom, so like non-skip rubber pads to keep it from sliding around. But yeah, so that is going to go in there, and let's do it. So I got this little magnetized precision micro mini, whatever you want to call it, screwdriver set. This is on Amazon. I'll have a link again in the description below. I'm not really including this in the price of the build, but if you want to include it, I think we're still going to be under $100 because this was about 12 or 13 bucks, and these are all magnetized, so it's great for working with these little chips and whatnot. And it's very small. It's extremely portable, so I thought this was a great toolkit for somebody that builds a lot of controllers and whatnot. And all the hardware that we should need for all this stuff should be included in there. Yep, you got your your bolts for the fan. Now, I don't... Okay, they good. They do. They have it's not thermal paste, but they have some kind of a thermal double-sided adhesive on the bottom, and that's what we're going to use to stick our heat sinks onto our equipment. Thinking about making a chicken salad for dinner. That sounds good as shit. A little avocado in there. Maybe make a summer salad, some fruits and whatnot. Sweet. Come here, girl. Come here, girl. Bam. Bam. Every once in a while, it can't hurt to just touch a piece of grounded metal, so that way you make sure that you're not gonna zap your board. Again, it's not a huge deal here. Like, if this thing just completely melts from overclocking or anything, it's $35, so it's not a big deal. Not to mention, I mean, it's from Amazon, so I can literally just hit them up and get a new one, because their customer service is second to none. Now, something I did forget to mention when I was going over the hardware on here is that is your micro SD card slot. Now, that is what is going to hold the operating system that we're going to be running. Sorry about that, boys. My battery died. My rugged good looks were too much for the camera to take. I don't know what the last thing you guys heard was, but I was saying the operating system, put it on an SD card. Okay, so maybe I should have read the directions. I actually had to backtrack just a step because I found out that this is actually a sticker that protects it from scratches and fingerprints. That looks much better. Now it doesn't have that foggy, milky kind of glaze like that. It's just crystal clear, so we're going to be able to see our masterful system working away. Hope that fan in the background over there isn't creating too much noise. It's a little warm here in Texas today, so you gotta do what you gotta do. One thing we're gonna do before we bolt everything all up is take this microfiber wipe and just wipe the entire case down so we know that it's all crystal clear and looking pretty. Now, I am gonna read through the instructions just so I don't miss any steps. It's been a while since I built a Raspberry Pi, or a Raspberry Pi. I think the last one I built was 4 or 5 years ago. I built one with a friend, and it was a Pi 1, I want to say. Maybe the 2 had just came out. But yeah, we're on the 3 came out, then the 3B, then the 3B Plus. So we're like, this is the newest iteration. And they're always the same exact price, 35 bucks. So that's really cool that they keep the same price point, even though they're adding features. Alright, so step 1 is to remove that peeling sticker on there that protects us from scratches and whatnot. And then step 2 is to install the mini fan. They make it pretty darn simple. I mean, this is a build that anybody can do, so they try and make it as simple as possible. You're going to line your your top cover up like that, and then you're going to install the fan sticker down, or label side down. And then you're going to want the wires kind of heading towards these poles here, because this is where you're gonna get power to your fan. If you got some big old meat hands, like some fucking bratwurst for fingers or a bunch of bananas for fingers, you are gonna have some difficulty because everything is very tiny on this build. So, alright, the instructions also break down exactly where you're gonna put those 3 heat sinks. A large and a small go on top, and another large goes on the bottom, and it shows you exactly where to put them. So again, this whole process is quite dummy proof, which is good for me. So we can go ahead and install the heat sinks now. Alright, just peel that off there. It's this little thermal adhesive. It's like a kind of a thermal double-sided tape, I guess you could call it. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's not just like regular 3M double-sided tape. This is thermal is the word. It basically transfers heat into the heatsink and out of your board. So that is gonna go right there. Just put her on there. Nice and easy like. Boop. Okay. Hell yeah, we are heat synced. So real quick, for the initial setup, you are going to need a wired USB either keyboard or USB controller. You can honestly just use an Xbox or PlayStation controller. Even a wireless one, you just plug in your USB cable. But this is $40 on Amazon for all these retro controllers, which we are going to go ahead and pair and make sure that they're mapped properly to their correct classic specifications, so we can go ahead and stay true to our retro roots and whatnot. But, you know, that's not a necessary accessory. However, I mean, we're still under a $100 mark, including those $40 worth of retro remotes, the case, and the power source kit with the case and everything. So we're still looking pretty darn good here. So I just washed my hands really good to make sure there's no grease or oil on there. You can also wear latex gloves if you want, because we're about to be handling these beautiful clear case, and I want to make sure we don't have any smudges or anything on there. So next step here is to take this bottom plate and peel the protective sticker off of it, which I've already done. Then you are going to take this black, not this one, but this one here, and align it like so. All right. Now you're going to take your pie, pop her in there, and your heat sink will stick to the bottom like that. Sweet. I'm going to go ahead and put those little rubber stoppers back on there, because that'll give it a little more clearance on the bottom, which will help us in the long run. Coolio. Coolio. All right, get back on there, girl. Controller. Perfect. So not this one, or any of these. They all look very similar, but it is definitely that one. And it's got all these cutouts here, which go around the USB ports and the Ethernet. So it just kind of sits right in there. It is this one here, because it's got a little cutout for the power plug, or power slot, whatever. Yep, that fits a lot more. Perfectly cut out for the HDMI, the power supply, and all this, the headphone jack and all that good stuff. All right, now is this one. And then this one. Yeah, I don't know what that bad boy does, but it sure as hell doesn't go on there. All right, and then put this black one on there. It's like kind of a glossy piano black, so it really shows dust and fingerprints. Bam. And then should be able to put the top shell on. Bam. Alright, so you can either plug it into black into 3, red into 2, which will be running at 5 volts, which is high speed, which is what we want. We want the maximum cooling possible. Or if you just want a little bit of cooling, you're running 3.3 volts, which is 3 in 1. So we're going to go 3 in 2. So black to 3. And these are your outermost pegs. So let's flip her around. All right. And we are going to put black on 3, red on 2. And just push down all the way. All the way, okay. She's in there. So black on 3. Red on 2. I'm repeating it not because I think you guys are stupid. I'm repeating it for myself so I remember, because I have a really bad memory. We should be in business. I don't know what business, but we should be in a business. Bam, so that, more or less, is our RetroPie all set up. Or I'm sorry, Raspberry Pi. RetroPie is the operating system. The holes are lined up because there's several layers or decks, if you will. Cool, so once you just put in all 4 corners kind of loosely, you can just screw them on in. Alright, all the screws are hand tight. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten them down the rest of the way. Cool. Hell yeah. Hell yes. So let's plug it in and make sure that it's got power. There's going to be no operating system right now because I'm currently downloading the RetroPie, and then we're going to plug in our SD card. You will need some kind of an SD card adapter to get it into your computer. I have... where's it at? You can find these on Amazon. I'll put a link to everything that I used here today in the description. So it's just one of these little adapters. You can also find SD cards on there too. I'll put several different options on there. You can go as low as a 16 or as high as, I think they can run 256. I know they can run 128, which is what we're going to use for this build because I want to have maximum memory in there. But yeah, a little adapter like this, just the SD card goes in the ass end, and then you plug this into your PC via an SD card reader. If your computer doesn't have an SD card reader, don't fret. There is USB adapters that every computer has USB, so they have adapters that's like a USB plug on one side and then an SD in the back. So you're going to find some way to get the operating system onto the SD card. Don't worry. And 32 is a pretty good size SD card for a RetroPie build. You can have about 5,000 to 7,000 games on a 32 gig, no problem. Technically more depending on what consoles you're doing. Obviously, if you're doing like PS2 or Sega Saturn or like disc-based games, those take quite a bit, substantially more space than some of the games like NES and stuff, which are such tiny files. You could put thousands of them on there and probably keep it under like a gig. So just something to keep in mind. But there's our RetroPie. This is going to be part 1, is just how to, unbox and assemble one of these bad boys. And, I was talking the whole time and I hadn't done one of these in forever. And, I mean, I pretty much did this in about 30 minutes. And that was really me just kind of taking my time and messing around and recording and stuff. So if I was really putting ass to grass, I could probably build one of these in about 10 minutes. And I have minimal experience building computers. So anybody can do this. It's very inexpensive. And once you guys see this fully operational up and running, it's going to be so rewarding and just so freaking awesome. So we're going to plug this up to power real quick and make sure the fan works and make sure that it's getting power and everything, which I have no doubts in my mind that she's good to go. Ooh! She on. Hell yeah. God, that fan is like dead silent too, and that's on the fast mode too, so it's very, 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 very quiet. I don't know what the cooling's like, but it's extremely quiet, which is a perk. Oh! Oh, it's alive. It's alive. Fucking A. Shit, we just built a little mini computer. Alright guys, well make sure you stick around, subscribe, because I'm going to be releasing part 2 either later this evening or perhaps tomorrow, where we are actually going to load our SD card with the RetroPie image, add some ROMs, and map a controller and or keyboard, and get some games on here and start gaming with this bad boy, considering that's the reason we built this in the first place. And then the third part is going to be adding themes, dedicated splash screens, load screens, a Kodi build so we can get all of our movies and whatnot on there, and then also mapping all of our additional retro peripherals like our N64 controllers and all that. And then I'll probably do additional follow-up parts where I add little tips and tricks that you can do to tweak some of the consoles that are a little bit harder to run, like PlayStation, like PS1, N64, and Dreamcast, because they really put quite a taxing on this little bad boy. And then of course we have to overclock it because that was part of the build. So that's going to be a somewhat involved process. That's going to be a video in its own, but it's going to be well worth it when this thing's running full speed.